Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Power is Now teleconference. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we will conduct a question-and-answer session, and instructions will follow at that time. If anyone should require assistance during the conference, please press star then 0 on your touchtone telephone. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded. And now, your host of the Power is Now, Brianna Frazier. Ma'am, you may begin.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Power is Now teleconference call. My name is Brianna Frazier, and I am the broker for Frazier Group Realty. And co-hosting with me today is Erica Frazier, who's also an officer and real estate navigator at Frazier Group Realty.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for the introduction. I just want to start off by thanking all of those who participated in our vote earlier this week. I just go ahead and make the announcement now that Brianna and I are now the permanent host of the Power is Now teleconference. And I just want to thank you all for participating in our survey. No, just kidding, all jokes aside.
Just kidding, everybody. We are standing in for our dad, Eric Frazier, who will be back next week with another great Power is Now teleconference. You all know how busy Eric is. He's not only the host of the Power is Now teleconference, but he's also the president of the Orange County Association of Real Estate Brokers, a chapter of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Please go to www.ocareb.org or www.nareb.com to learn more about those organizations. Also, Eric is the branch manager of the Wells Fargo North Orange County Markets branch, so please consider using one of his team members on your next transaction. You can contact any member of his team on their team website at www.thedoitnowteam.com. If you're listening outside of the North Orange County area, please go to www.wellsfargo.com/mortgage and get in contact with a local home mortgage consultant. You will not be disappointed.
If you are listening for the first time, the phrase Power is Now suggests that we maximize our potential for success in business and life when we act on information and opportunities now. The present is our future because the future is only a reflection of our past decisions to act now. We are at our best and we maximize our success when we act now. This is what the Power is Now is all about, folks, acting now. The Power is Now is a teleconference of meetings designed to empower real estate agents, partners, to sell more homes, expand their business of buyers and sellers, and to be well informed about changes in lending and the government programs that may affect their clients and their business. Please email or call our question and comment line at 800-261-163, extension 741, and let us know what you think about the teleconference and how the Power is Now can continue to support you in your business. We appreciate the feedback and your suggested topics. If you're listening to this call for the first time, please email eric.frazier@thepowerisnow.com if you would like to be added to our mailing list. Next week, Sun Nguyen, Chief Operating Officer of Partner First, is going to be on the teleconference. This is another call you don't want to miss, so please tell your friends.
Great. So today our speaker is the magnificent Shelly Cofini. Shelly has been a guest on the Power is Now many times, but let me tell you a little bit about this dynamic woman. Shelly has an extensive background in consulting and coaching and organizational development. Experienced in a consultative process, she has been developing business and financial strategies for her clients for more than 27 years. She is a sought-after speaker on many topics, including real estate strategies, such as REOs, short sales, and the strategic plans for sales professionals that are based on one's natural instincts. She is also engaged in conversations about ontological coaching, listening, and communication skills. As a result of her consultative experiences, she's developed training relating to REOs, short sales, and much more, such as working the buyer's side of distressed property market, the consultative approach to sales, and it's not what you say, it's what they hear. Topics giving her audience access to creating powerful, high-trust relationships and allowing people to see what is possible for them personally and financially. Shelly has proven her track record in successful implementing turnaround strategies for companies that are in transitions, both large and small. Shelly Cofini is a graduate from the University of Santa Monica, earning her master's in spiritual psychology. She's earned her Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from California State Polytechnical University in Pomona, California. She has also served on the board of directors alongside two GNMA presidents and has penned several articles for nationwide publications. Shelly is an active member of both the National Speakers Association and the National Association of Female Executives. Shelly resides in Newport Beach with her fiancé and loves college football, enjoys indoor cycling, Southern cooking, and loves spending time with her family and friends. She's a volunteer coach for the Newport Mesa Girls Fast Pitch Softball League. Shelly is a business strategic speaker and coach dedicated to transforming the way you live and work every day. I want to draw you back to what it means to dream, create, and prosper. Thank you, Shelly, for being here today, and welcome back to The Power Is Now.
Now, before we get started, I'm sorry, go ahead, Shelly.
No, I want to thank you both. I'm so excited to have you both on the call today. And Brianna, thank you for magnificent. I like that word.
Well, it's true.
Go ahead, Erica.
So before we get started, something new that we're going to be doing on the teleconference from now on is asking our guest what exactly the power is now and what it means to you.
I really, I love this phrase, because it resonates with, carpe diem, seize the day. And I think, what we're experiencing right now is, certainly we're in a distressed real estate market in some areas of the country, and in some areas of the country we're rebounding. But I think the message really is for the real estate and lending community is there's more opportunity than ever before to assist clients in making choices that are best for themselves and their family. And so really embracing the opportunity that lies before us, and also taking inventory of the tools and the marketing techniques and the experience we have, and really distinguishing those tools that will equip us in growing our practice. Because I firmly believe that you can do that in any market, but specifically this marketplace. There's more opportunity now than ever before.
That's a great interpretation of that phrase, because I think in a down market like this, people think that the opportunity has left. But really, like you were saying, there's more opportunity than ever before. But it takes something now. It takes, acting now. The power is now. And that kind of brings us to our topic of it's not what you say, it's what they hear, the consultative approach to real estate. So open us up, Shelly, on just what this topic is going to talk about today.
Well, when I say the consultative approach to real estate, really what I'm saying is that for many of us, and I hear this every single day when I talk to agents, our job descriptions changed. How we came into the business and how we operated in the business for so many years, and especially for those folks that have been in the business just for the last 5 or 6 years, how we conducted business has, I feel, been permanently altered. And it's time for everyone to recognize that the school, the tips and the tools and the skill sets that they've used in the past may not necessarily apply to this market today. So our approach in working with clients and presenting solutions and having conversations, and even as something as simple as how we listen, is different.
That's very interesting, because in a down market or a change of market like this, I think the natural instinct for realtors is to think, okay, now let's think short sales, let's think foreclosures, let's think bank properties, and that's the only change of mindset they have in terms of dealing with clients. Instead of talking about equity sales and things like that, they talk about the short sales and bank foreclosures and the facts and the numbers. But that's not the right approach to take in this type of market. Is that right?
Well, yeah, you're looking at, multiple sides of a transaction that are being impacted by the news media, by legislative policies, by ever-changing lending guidelines, by, regulatory changes, and by bank policy, which is, under kind of constant scrutiny and change as well. Mm-hmm. So when you're trying to navigate a buy side, a sell side, an equity seller that might be competing with distressed sales down the street, then, how we manage this process has to really come from a different kind of approach. I've said this often that, the basic tenets of real estate is prospect, present, and close. For most realtors in the marketplace, that's how they were trained to go out and grow their practice. And for me, that skill set has to shift. That sequence has to shift. And today it's more about listening, building high-trust relationships, understanding what a distressed homeowner is experiencing, connecting at the human being level, and then providing resources and solutions to that client so that they can navigate through how to get to that choosing point and really what is the best choice for themselves and their family. So for me, it's a completely different sequence today.
So yes, speaking of those sequences, you have a set that are kind of the way you should approach this type of buyer, this type of seller. And the first one being listening, the most underrated sales skill. Can you explain that? Listening, people think that they listen, but really it's, as you're saying, an underrated sales skill that people have.
Yeah, well, so if we can all recognize that as human beings, we're meaning-making machines, right? We're constantly looking at this world through a perceptual filter called judgment, right? Which is right, wrong, good, bad, like this experience, don't like this experience, this conversation's going well, it's not going well. You start to get a sense of this supercomputer that's operating somewhere up in the brain that is constantly filtering data. And if you recognize that that is occurring, then, my argument is we've got all of this noise, this chatter, then how is it that we're really able to listen to a conversation that's taking place? So the first thing that I share with my sales professionals is we've got to learn how to turn down the volume of that noise and really get centered on the experience that's playing out in front of us. And when we're listening to a client, we're listening via context, body language, eye contact, feelings and emotions. We're listening for the experience the person is having. And it's kind of like, changing the glasses you're wearing. Sometimes we have glasses for driving, for distance, and sometimes we wear glasses for reading. So we're going to shift that perceptual filter from that one of judgment, which is the machine, the mechanism that's always running, to a new set of glasses where we're simply evaluating what is. So we're going to turn down that noise. We're going to buffer some of that meaning-making that's occurring and really just get centered and present. And, through the educational program that I just completed at USM, the very first communication skill that we learned, day one, class one, was a skill called heart-centered listening, which was really to sit in front of another human being, turn off the noise-making machine and just be present with that person and really get in touch with the experience they were having. And to listen at a deeper level, one might use the term empathy, but to really understand that at the human being level, what matters most is if something is of concern to me, that it actually matters to you, that you care, and that I'm being heard. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And when you say turn down the volume and turn on to a heart-centered listening, are there key things that you're listening for in terms of their experience, or are you just portraying that empathy, or is it just purely listening to, what they're saying? Can you expand on that?
Sure. Well, the greatest cause for miscommunication when two adults sit at a table is this automatic, what I call automatic already listening, which is as I'm talking to you, you're already formulating your response, but you're not necessarily hearing what I'm saying. And so for me, we want to turn that automatic already listening off and really connect at the emotional level where I can say something to you and you hear me and the response is, wow, I can't even imagine what it is like for you right now experiencing this kind of distress. We're really connecting at a different level. And when people feel like not only they're being heard, but they're being understood, that's the basic foundation to start building a high-trust relationship. It's the beginning step. That what matters to me is really resonating with you. I hear that you're connecting. I hear that you understand what I'm saying and that you understand what I'm experiencing. You can imagine for most realtors, for most sales professionals, dealing with someone that's in distress, we simply were not trained to deal with the range of emotions and experiences one has when one's losing their home. We have clients that are out there that don't know where to turn. They don't know who to trust. They don't know if the information they're receiving is accurate. There is a myriad of emotions they're experiencing that range from embarrassment to shame. It's often said, the sellers, there are certain sellers who are out there that are kind of in denial. They're hiding out. They're not answering their phone. They're not answering the door. And they're just kind of hoping at some point it all goes away. And, that's the client that we need to get in front of most. Because if we can get them to see there are solutions to the problem they're experiencing and that we can present to them a plan of what their future looks like, or as I say, pull them in to their future, we can help them get to the choosing point faster.
And that does touch upon kind of the next point, to where until the person on the other side feels as though you do understand them and that you are listening, you're not just another person trying to get a listing. You care about them, you show concern about them, and you understand what they're saying. Without that, you can't move on to, I guess, what would be the second skill set of building that high-trust relationship with that seller.
Yeah, it's the very essence of this statement. It's not what you say, it's what they hear. If you're out strategic door knocking, which I'm a big fan of that particular marketing campaign, and a distressed seller opens the door, by the very nature that your business card says realtor on it, anything that comes out of your mouth after that is, you're not here to help me, you're here to list my house and kick me to the curb.
Right.
That's the experience that they're having. And so if we can find a way to shift that conversation, whether it's this is my community outreach program, or I'm a pre-foreclosure coach, or I counsel people that are in distress, with a level of detachment from the outcome, which is I am here to list your house.
Right.
The shift starts to occur where you can actually earn the right to advance the conversation. And for me, it's something very simple like saying, my job description has changed too. For years and years and years, the focus was helping someone find their dream home and really zero in on the features and benefits they were looking for in that particular home. And today what I find is, as a realtor, I spend most of my time talking to my clients about how to keep them in the home they already have. How's everything going? Is the home working? Is there any situation that's surfacing that may cause you to think you may be in trouble some point in the future? So that the approach is different. The conversation is a different kind of conversation, and it is really coming in and connecting at the human being level first with a level of detachment as to what the outcome will be, but that consultative approach is I'm here to be a resource.
That's very clear, and I hope it's clear for our listeners as well, is that I truly do see the difference in that, to where, you approach the homeowner who thinks, bottom line, you want to list my house, I'm not interested. I just want to close the door, like you said, pretend everything is going to disappear, if I don't pay attention to it. And that approach, I can see, can be disheartening for a seller who feels as though, they're not just a dollar sign to a realtor. And that when you break that barrier down and present to them counseling, a resource, something to where, like you said, you don't have that end result right in front of them, it not only, like you said, helps them make the decision quicker, but it does help build that relationship. And that is really what real estate is about in the end, is building relationships throughout your business and throughout your career.
Yeah, I think that over the years we've somehow disconnected from that.
Right.
With the advent of technology.
Oh, yeah.
And media and exposure. I've actually, been in situations where I've referred a sales professional, a client, and what I've heard from the client is, well, they gave me instructions to go to their website first and fill out a form.
Yeah.
And then I have to go over to this site and I have to watch a video, and I'm sitting back saying, are you kidding me?
Right.
Because it really should be, let's go down to the coffee shop and have a cup of coffee, and let's have a conversation about what's going on. And let's sit down and really get clear on where you're at so that I can come back to you with some measure of resources and a solutions-oriented approach to dealing with the situation you're in.
Right.
And so part and parcel of trying to do more and grow faster and be more is that it's caused this disconnect between the sales professional and their clientele. In the effort of casting the wider net, we've missed the boat.
Oh, yeah.
That it's really about the human connection. And, I've seen this happen time and time again. When you help someone that's in distress, when you give them the relief that they're seeking for that may not know how to find, they're going to tell everyone in their sphere what that experience was like. Right? That in and of itself is going to drive more opportunities to the real estate professional, and the real estate professional is uniquely equipped to have some of these conversations. They may not know how to deal with some of the emotional aspects, but they do understand, here's what's happening in this market, here's what's happening in this neighborhood, here's where the trend is. And, this permeates all sides of the market. because the buyer coming in wanting to buy the distressed piece of real estate was the seller who doesn't necessarily want to comply because he doesn't understand that every day he waits to recover, he's putting off his re-entry into the marketplace. You know, it affects all sides of the transaction. And so for me, it's really about altering how we approach each side in the marketplace and really how we connect with the client, our service commitment to that client, how we build the relationship, and what the expectations are for both sides.
So
really.
It's clear on how to, build that trust and, let the buyer or the homeowner in foreclosure, let them understand that you're an actual real person who's trying to help them. And you said something interesting a while back about door knocking, and you said that that's a great marketing tool. What do you say when you approach the distressed homeowner? What do you suggest for how to spark that conversation?
Well, for clients that, and when I say clients, I'm really speaking in my reference, which would be real estate agents. For real estate agents that want to take this on as a specific marketing campaign, I'm not a big fan of scripts, because I think there has to be a level to the conversation that we're having with the person in front of us. So the advice that I give is find a way of phrasing why you're at their doorstep, why you're there, what you're there for, that works for them. The paragraph that I mentioned earlier about my job description has changed is a great entry point, which is, I really get what you're going through because I'm experiencing that too. What I thought was my job description is now dramatically different. And what I spend my time doing today versus, 5 years or 10 years ago is dramatically different. And on that level, I really get it. I can connect with you because you're not alone. I sent out an article yesterday from CoreLogic. Currently, today, nationwide, we have 11.8 million homes that are underwater. So this conversation isn't going away anytime soon. It is a conversation that we must be well equipped to have and to be willing to have. One of the things that I've always said is I would rather stand at the doorstep and be willing to have a fierce conversation and be willing to tell the truth, or as I say, the microscopic truth, to a client as a means to get them understanding what's best for them and their future is to take back their power, to stand on their own 2 feet and start making choices that serve them. Does that make sense to you guys?
That does make sense. And I feel like we are clear on the listening is the most underrated sales skill. We can move on there and how that helps build that high trust relationship. But let's talk more about what it is, what mindset the seller does have of a distressed seller. What is that mindset so that people can understand what those people are thinking?
Well, you're going to have a range of emotions that show up. And the range of emotions are, it was my fault. I did it. I chose. I'm responsible. I simply don't know how to resolve it. To the other end of the spectrum, which is I'm a victim. I was taken advantage of. I'm blaming my bank. I'm blaming my lender. I'm blaming my realtor. Yeah. I'm deflecting blame to everyone but myself and the fact that I did sign the paperwork and there may in fact be, the boat or the jet ski sitting in the driveway. as a result of some of the choices. So for me, it's really recognizing there's two sides of this. As a real estate working their practice, choices have consequences, right? If we don't like the results that we're getting, we have to go back and look at the choices we're making. The same holds true for the distressed seller. Choices have consequences. If they're in a situation, whether it's in or out of their control, how they make choices moving forward will be in direct relation to the results they're getting. So for me, it's really getting them to understand the faster we get them into recovery and rebound, the faster they're going to experience a sense of relief, a sense of control, empowerment, and purpose. And if we can get them to see what the future looks like, it's conceivable we can re-enter you back into the market as a homeowner in 24 months or maybe even less. But in a situation now with a mortgage you can afford, with a payment you can afford, what would that feeling be like? And let them experience, what that future vision means to them. That pushes them along to the choosing point a little bit faster.
Yes, I see that. And I think what also helps I get from what you're saying is that the initial mindset, too, of a distressed seller may be that they can't enter back into that market. I'm losing my home. My credit's going to be ruined forever. I'm never going to be a homeowner. And by understanding all of the emotions that they're going through and then pushing that forward to building a plan with them, or giving them the ability to, like you said, rebound and control their situation again, to be put back into the market, is something very valuable that they probably don't hear very often.
No, and for me, it's really, how do you demonstrate that to a client? So there's a metaphor or an analogy. I'm not clear which label is appropriate there that I use. Okay. And that is when the client's sitting there and they're in distress, whatever range of emotions they're experiencing, I'm empathetic to that, whether it's shame, embarrassment, denial, or blame. I am empathetic to that. I understand that's what they're experiencing today. What my job to do is really demonstrate what are the things they must know and learn about so they can make a choice first, and then foremost also demonstrate to them that no matter what they're being told, when the collection process starts, it stays moving forward. And I always make it very clear to a client that the collection process never stops. So at the moment of a notice of intent to foreclose, their course of action must be elevated. And so the way that I demonstrate that in a visual term is when you go to an emergency room with a sprained ankle, what happens? What happens?
You start to swell of the ankle. You wait for the doctor.
You wait, right? You wait. Are you in pain?
Yes.
Right?
The pain keeps building.
And the pain keeps building. And really, at best, you may get an x-ray. Mm-hmm. You're certainly going to get an ACE bandage. You might get some good drugs. But the result is probably go home, stay off of it, and elevate it, right? Not a lot of resolution for the pain you're experiencing. Now, when you go to the emergency room with a gunshot wound, what happens?
Go straight to surgery.
You're triaged. Yeah. You're triaged. The level of care that is provided to you is dramatically different. Mm-hmm. So the way I explain this to the homeowner is you're sitting here in your house, you've not made your payment in 12 months, you have a notice of intent to foreclose, a notice of default, conceivably a notice of trustee sale. You think you have a sprained ankle when in fact you have a gunshot wound.
And, that's one of the most common calls we get here at our office. People, they think that they can still do something to save their loan modification or, whatever situation they may be in. And so it's interesting to hear you say that because you want to tell them that, they have to make a decision as to what they're going to do for the future of the home.
Right. So for me, it's first getting them to understand I can't continue to wait it out. That doesn't serve me.
Right.
By standing forward and taking responsibility for my choices, I now can impact the result or consequence that will be directly following, which is the faster I get you in recovery, the faster I get you back in as a homeowner, the more empowered you're going to feel. Because I can promise you this, no one ever wants to experience a forced eviction. No matter how much they may be in denial or deflecting blame, it isn't something that anyone should ever have to go through, right? So how do we set them up to win? It's by giving them information, and there's really a couple of things the seller must know and the realtor must be equipped to address.
So it sounds as though, in case people are taking notes and following along with the bullet points, are we up to 3 things sellers must explore?
Oh, isn't that a magical way of flowing into that bullet point? So for me, it's very simple. First, let me give the disclaimer or disclosure to the realtors.
Okay.
Under no circumstance do we give legal or tax advice. That is not our domain, nor is it our job.
Right.
So we have to have a professional team of resources that we bring to the table to provide to our clients so that they can uncover what these 3 things are in a way that is putting us back into the role as a consultant and allowing the service professional that is either licensed or equipped to provide that kind of advice.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that because I think realtors might be thinking, let me go learn tax law, let me go learn credit law, let me go, learn these things to be able to provide this knowledge to clients. But really, our expertise is the homes in that area, and we leave the tax issues, the credit issues, the legal issues to those professionals.
Exactly. Now,
Great.
I'm a big fan of the realtor understanding,
Right.
Of understanding those elements, but I under no circumstances do we give the advice.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about the professional team, and then I'll dive into the 3 things.
Okay.
Who do we need to have on our team? We need a CPA that understands real estate and understands IRS insolvency.
Okay.
Critical mass. Because there are going to be certain circumstances where we're having a tax exposure depending on the kind of property or type of financing, and we want to make sure that that client understands what lies ahead and really enable them to know how that will impact their choice. The second thing that we need on the team is an asset protection and or bankruptcy attorney that can advise them when a bankruptcy may or may be a tactical or strategic application for solving part of the problem.
I see.
In addition to that, we need a lender that can assist them in determining what needs to happen in order for them to be loan ready tomorrow. So we're talking about creating budgets, down payment savings plans, and qualification. In addition to that, I highly recommend having a credit restoration firm as part of the process so that we can get that client in front of what needs to change in the profile or what can be effectively addressed in the profile so that they can qualify for a loan at some future date.
I see.
As a strategist, I'm always going to recommend a short sale negotiation team. It's critical mass. Just like not giving tax or legal advice, I don't know that most realtors are equipped to negotiate with a bank in a distressed situation, and I'm just a big fan of outsourcing that activity to a competent, qualified loss mitigation team that does it for a living.
Got it.
And so, those would be kind of key components for me in terms of being able to bring those resources to the table. And for the listeners today, I'm happy to share my own team and my own resources for those folks that just want to shoot me an email. I'll turn around and provide that information because I have vetted so many of those service professionals and the work that I've done in counseling distressed homeowners.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. I'm going to just recap on this professional source of resources
Sure.
team in case people are writing them down. So number one, a real estate or a CPA who is well-versed in real estate and IRS solvency. Number two, a asset protection and or bankruptcy attorney. Number three, a lender to assist in how to become home ready. You said by tomorrow, right?
In the perfect world, that would be great, wouldn't it?
But how to look futuristically and say, what does it take to be home ready, and also to have on board a credit restoration firm and a short sale negotiation company.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, along with the real estate consultant, which is really this new job description the realtor is playing, we now have really all of the resources available. We could certainly add in there some type of modification counseling. There's some amazing nonprofits out there that will provide that. As you know, there's also some technology that will help provide the half a decisioning process. And that would be, the last kind of piece or component, because we certainly want to always lean towards homeowner preservation first before we go into the dissolution mindset as a secondary measure. So let's talk about the three things. For me, it's really simple. And by the way, the simpler that we keep this for the homeowner, the better.
Okay.
And that is, first, there will be a tax consequence to my choice. Second, there may or may not be a financial consequence to my choice. And third, how does this choice I'm about to make impact my credit moving forward? So when I'm discussing those three things, whether I'm face-to-face or over the phone, I really try to keep the conversation to those three bullet points. There comes a point in the consultative approach where too much information is dangerous, right? Because the client will get overwhelmed. So we really want to keep it very compartmentalized and simplistic, and when we uncover through our education that we may have exposure, we bring in the professional.
And so with these three things the seller must explore, in maybe your initial or follow-up phone call with the seller when you're going over these things, you're letting them know that these are things that will be involved, and that if they would like to get more information about that, that's when you would bring in the team to discuss what it is for their specific situation. Is that right?
Absolutely. And actually for me, what I've done is I've taken the whole package.
Okay.
So we have this concierge approach or consultative approach. And I've actually created a marketing campaign, which I call the Fresh Start Program.
Okay.
And however realtors, again, play this out in their own practice, whether it's the dignified exit strategy or the clean slate program or the start fresh program, whatever label they want to put on it, for me, being able to kind of bundle that entire consultative approach together for a home seller, remember what I'm doing is I'm drawing them forward to their future. I'm showing them here is a sequence by which you can navigate some really tough choices, but do so in a way where you feel empowered.
And I think it's never too late, even, for realtors who are currently doing short sales or, focusing on that side of the business. It's never too late to approach your seller and say, let's talk about the future and where, you'll be, any number of years from now, to show that there's still an option for them. There's still time, because sometimes you can have a relationship with a seller or buyer and, not have it be a high trust relationship, but it's never too late, or is it, to get these things set up in the relationship?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think that, if we as an industry as a whole embrace this consultative process, yes, and we get the home sellers to recognize the faster we get them into recovery and rebound, the overall impact to the market is stabilization.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
But for the realtor, this is the pay dirt. If we are doing that and managing that correctly, our short sale sellers today are our borrowers coming forward, our buyers coming forward tomorrow.
Right.
So if I said to you that I'm estimating 5 years worth of distressed activity, I can extend that 5-year cycle out another 5 years with buyers coming forward. Right? I can extend that cycle out because I'm going to stay in front of these clients. I'm going to keep them in the fold. I'm going to keep in touch with them. How are you doing on your Fresh Start program?
Right.
Where are you at in your down payment budget savings plan?
Right.
Have you met with the lender? How's the credit restoration going? Here's some articles about some upcoming tax credits that you may or may not be aware of. See, if I keep them in the fold as they start to surface, I've already built my next wave of business.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, because, the whole point of building the relationship is not for it to have an end. It's for it to continue to prosper and continue to cycle, throughout the as long as you can, really. You don't want that end point in relationships you build with sellers because, tomorrow they turn into a buyer or vice versa. And it's a good point to make in terms of keeping the cycle going. And right. I think it's also the more and more we hear about this skill set in sequence to be a consultative real estate agent in this type of market is that realtors do need to learn more and provide themselves with resources and knowledge to be able to even perform in this type of capacity as a the consultative approach. Is that right?
Absolutely. For me, education is just critical. Yeah. The market is changing so rapidly. Things are changing so rapidly that we have to invest in ourselves and invest in our businesses. And, as you both know, that's why I spend so much time teaching. I am currently doing a short sale certification course for a nonprofit in the Inland Empire called Rescue. I teach the third course in the series there called Helping Homeowners Return the Fresh Start Program, a strategic plan for growing your practice. Next week I'll be traveling to Las Vegas to teach these two consultative courses at the ERA International Business Conference. And I'm super excited about that because the first one we're doing as a pure experiential conversation, much like what we're having today, where it's pure dialogue. And And then recently for me, I was invited to join the Watson team at the McMonagle Group in Newport Beach and really partner in a distressed asset focus for that particular brand, and be able to allow me to continue to counsel distressed homeowners. And so it's an exciting time for me as I continue to add skill sets and tools to the work that I'm doing. And I think some of the callers may be aware that last year, I did roughly 70 listings with distressed homeowners so that I continue to stay tactical in the business, so that I'm not sitting here, preaching a methodology that hasn't been tried and true. In other words, everything that I've shared today are things that I actually do when I'm working with a client.
That's great. That's great. And so once you get that education and you've shown the distressed homeowner that you're really there for them and you want to build that high trust relationship, how do you get them to the point of actually making the decision?
Right. So choices have consequences, and this is really so critical. And my phrase for 2011, well, I actually have two Cofini-isms, we'll call them. One is geared more towards my coaching clients, which is free is not a business model. And I say that with a sense of humor, but, we are here to serve first and foremost, but we must be compensated.
Right.
Right? And so free is not a business model. It's a gentle reminder of what is the purpose behind the practice that we're in. Right. The other one is more geared for clients, which is something that my coach said to me that so resonated for me this year, which is sanity is the ability to differentiate. Sanity is the ability to differentiate. And what I mean by that is when we've demonstrated to the client what it is they need to know, and we've illustrated to them a sense of urgency based on where they are in the collection process, then really sanity is the ability for them to differentiate, choosing to move forward, to take control, to be empowered, to make choices that serve them. And what I have found in most of the conversations that I have, when I get to that point, the choice simply becomes evident to them. It becomes crystal clear. And what may have served as a barrier or a boundary or a blockage just dissolves.
Right.
Because what I've done is I've demonstrated to them what their future looks like. And I know the emotional feeling is one of relief. We end the pain. Right? And when we're successful in ending the pain, people will always take action.
Right. And it would be almost, natural for that just to be the next step, not even so much just a pure choice, but they understand, they feel you're there for them. That's their natural next step, is to make that decision.
Right. And for me, with a sense of urgency, depending on where they are in the collection process, and I consider anything, past a notice of intent to foreclose urgent. Right. I classify that client as triage, and I really demonstrate that to them. These are the things you need to consider. This is the timeline that you have. And we're not playing a game with the bank here, which is to buy you extended periods of time. What we're doing is we're going to step forward. We're going to rule in or rule out a modification. We're opting in or out of a HAMP, or in some cases they may have already defaulted on their temporary mod. And then we're getting them into action, because if I can half qualify them, as you guys know, there may be cash for cooperation. And for some folks, that's the difference of them having the money to move and get into a healthy, safe environment for us to start the recovery process.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. And that is just a lot of great info that you have shared with us today. And so at this time, I think we're going to go ahead and ask the operator if there are any questions on the line.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question at this time, please press star then 1 on your touchtone telephone. If your question has been answered or you wish to remove yourself from the queue, please press the pound key. Again, if you have a question at this time, please press star then 1.
Okay, so while we wait for questions to queue, Shelly, where do you get your knowledge and resources in terms of learning more about these types of distressed sellers and being able to provide this information to them? What good resources can you share with us and the listeners for where to go just to learn?
Well, we just by virtue of having a license are open to some tremendous resources, both with CAR and with NAR. And I find that, surprisingly, most agents spend very little time on those two websites, which is, always kind of makes me laugh because there's articles that can be downloaded, there's market updates that can be forwarded to your clients. There's just a tremendous amount of information that can be used and distributed not only from an e-campaign perspective, but for blogs or articles or handouts or newsletters, just in those two websites alone. In addition to that, sites like Foreclosure Radar or DS News, which is the default servicing industry's news update, again, have some wonderful information they can share. I subscribe to Inman, which is a daily news wire that sends out information about what's happening in the market.
That one was called
Inman, INMAN. And so, first of all, making sure that you set up, whether you're subscribing to an RSS feed or you set up to get that news update daily, I carve out 1 hour every day to read about what's occurring in and around our industry because it's important for me to stay informed. And so that's just a power block on my calendar, and it's 50 minutes of perusing various articles and then grabbing content that I think might be of value to either my clients or my sellers for me to distribute. While I may not be doing that day, it's certainly going to go in a file for me to do that at some point during the week.
Okay.
So, part of this is being able to manage your time in such a way that we're spending equal amounts of time working on and in our business. And that's where the strategic plan really plays out for me. The work that I do with realtors one-on-one is developing that type of skill and that type of strategy for them.
Okay, well, operator, are there any questions at this time?
I'm showing there are no questions in the queue.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, Shelly, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor to kind of touch on some closing thoughts you'd like to share with us.
Well, certainly I think now, as I shared at the beginning of the call, there's more opportunity than ever before for our industry to rise up, for our licensed real estate professionals to rise up and really be a resource, not just to sellers but buyers in navigating this market. And so my advice first and foremost as a business strategist and a consultative coach is make sure that you have an active strategic plan that is something that comes alive day to day in your business, that translates to your calendar, that is providing quality content, quality resources to the folks that you're serving. I think we as an industry owe it to the consumer to do that. And collectively, as an industry, if we're successful transitioning this market, we will find stabilization, we will find growth, and we will have developed relationships with our clients that last for lifetimes. And so in addition to that, get the education you need. Seek out the local resources that are available to you. Partner with the right service professionals. And again, as I mentioned, if you don't have access to those, I'm certainly happy to refer you to the folks that I have vetted and used and know and trust. And if you find that you're sitting there at the end of this call today going, I just don't know where to start, you may be desirous of seeking out a relationship with a coach. And so, I do offer one-on-one strategic planning for realtors, for lenders, for vendors in and around the real estate industry, and I'm happy to provide those services. And the easiest way to engage me in doing that is simply give me a call or shoot me an email, and we'll talk about what experience you're having and how I might be able to help and provide those solutions.
Okay, and can you just share with people right now your contact number and email address?
Certainly. The best way to reach me is the 949-922-3698 number. In addition to that, you can email me, which is my first name, Shelly, Shelly, at ShellyCofini.com. Let me spell that, ShellyCo, F as in Frank, I, N as in Nancy, I.com. And I respond immediately to emails. The phone calls I return during a couple of power blocks during the day. But my intention really is here to serve not only the real estate and lending community, but also the distressed marketplace in any way that I can, that it creates an impact for people, and that we come together as an industry really to work on getting through this distressed marketplace and back to a stabilized market.
Well, thank you, Shelly, so much for sharing so much information. You truly are a magnificent woman, and I think that people can learn a lot from you. So I encourage people to, give you a call or send you an email and set something up. And again, where are you going to be the next couple of weeks in case people want to take a class or come see you?
Sure. On the 16th, I am teaching the third class of the certification course for Rescue. It's RESCUE. I'll be at the Inland Valleys Association of Realtors from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. for that course. And that is strategic planning, helping homeowners return. I'll be in Las Vegas from the 17th to the 20th at the ERA International Business Conference, teaching the consultative approach to real estate. And then I'll be back here locally for the remainder of the month, ready and available to do one-on-one strategic planning sessions. And so folks are certainly welcome to call me. We do have some events planned, but I don't have dates confirmed yet for April. And I do believe I'm on the calendar to come back to the Power Is Now in April as well.
Right. You will be back. And always a pleasure to have you, and always just a great resource for realtors and people in the real estate industry. So, again, thank you for being on the call.
And Brianna and Erica, it was a real treat today to spend time with the two of you. While I love your father dearly, this was a lot of fun to have a nice girl conversation. And so I wish you both well and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone that the call is being recorded and will be available for listening on thepowerisnow.com. Also, please remember to use Wells Fargo on your next transaction. Go to their team website at www.thedoitnowteam.com and work with a great home mortgage consultant. Remember, power is now. We are at our best, and we maximize our success when we act now. Thank you for joining the call, and see you next week at The Power Is Now. Have an awesome day.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in today's conference. This does conclude the conference, and you may now disconnect. Everyone have a wonderful day.